Welcome back to another Queen City Press podcast preview show. I'm Laurel Failer, and I'm joined, as usual, by Tyler Snipes. And we're here to talk about a couple of FC Cincinnati games coming up this week. FC Cincinnati is coming off a 1-0 loss to Toronto, which I recapped that one on the Insider Show earlier this week. So be sure to check that out over on Patreon. And now the Orange and Blue are looking to rebound Thursday against Tigres in a Champions Cup round of 16 opener at TQL Stadium. They'll then head to New England to face the New England Revolution, and they'll be playing on a grass field there for once. They installed some grass ahead of the World Cup this summer at Gillette Stadium, and that delayed New England's home opener to this week now against FC Cincinnati. So we'll be diving into that league match a little bit more in depth with our guest today. Gio Savarese joined us to talk about that one, but we'll set up that Champions Cup game as well. I'm also going to be introducing a new segment in this show called Patreon Press Pass, where my insider paid subscribers have the ability to submit questions for me to ask players or staff members. I'll pick the best ones, record the question and answer, and share it here. So I'll have the first rendition of that in this episode. But Tyler, it's a big week for FC Cincinnati. It feels like just coming off back-to-back 1-0 losses, looking at Toronto and then Minnesota before that. How important is it for them to get back in Champions Cup? Or, I mean, it's expected, I think, against New England. But what do you think?
Starting the Champions Cup game with a hosting leg and having a lead would be huge, just in terms of like switching the vibes after losing to two teams 1-0. Like that's just it just doesn't feel like they should be like out of confidence, but yeah, like this is a huge week. Unfortunately, the CONCACAF game comes before the MLS game because I do think Revs is definitely more of like a get right game for them right now. But if they can even get a draw, just to give themselves a shot to finish off Tigres next week, I think that would be that would go a long way in just like bringing the power back, to this team.
Well, speaking of power back to the team, Matt Miazga could be a boost if he's available for either one of these games. He played in that FC Cincinnati 2 game on Sunday in the afternoon before FC Cincinnati went on and played that Toronto game. I think a lot of people were surprised to see him in an FC Cincinnati 2 road game. I wasn't expecting it. It wasn't on my radar at all. But it made sense to me. I mean, good way to kind of ease him back. I'm wondering, did you get a chance to catch any of that game? And how do you think he looked, if so?
Yeah, he just played the first half. Very classic performance for him, for better or worse, picking up a yellow card 7 minutes in. The over-under that I gave the team that day, like on our desk, was 20 minutes, and he delivered on the under. But yeah, he looks comfortable. They gave up a corner, which, he was involved in, but it's not like I would say it's directly his fault or anything. Like, they marked the guy, just got beat. So he looked healthy. He was around, especially with like the young guys, like he was, hyping them up and like doing a lot of like high five, just being vocal, just being very, very himself. And I think that, I heard you at least say like on the Insider Show that that's just kind of what this team is missing right now, is just like that chatterbox. And I think that, like if he's coming back this week, that would be great. But I don't know if, playing 45 is just the start and maybe they try to get him a 90-minute game and see how he feels. That I don't know,
Yeah, the tough thing is with the 2 team games, if it's at home, they're on turf and guys are hesitant to do that. I just thought a veteran going on the road with these young guys, I just was not expecting it. But it was grass that he got to play at Subaru Park in Philadelphia. So, like I said, it made sense. Pat Noonan, I asked him actually about that today, and he's never going to say, we're going to play him. But he talked about just the importance of getting those minutes, and he talked a little bit about just the leadership he brought to that group and how it's a little challenging because it's, guys that you're not used to playing with. And but it was a big step, I think. So I just think I would expect him to get some kind of minutes this week. If it's not against Tigres, maybe Tigres is too much to ask, but you would think maybe at New England. Who knows? So we'll see. I mean,
And
it helps that they've got grass. I mean, that no one likes to play on that turf at Gillette Stadium. So it'll be interesting to see just how different these games look on grass when we're used to I just feel like the games at New England over the years have been just kind of sloppy. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird venue. I've only been there once, and like it's just massive, and like when the audience doesn't, you know what I mean, like when the meat's too small for the bread, right? It's a really awkward place. Sometimes the weather sucks. Like, yeah, they're long overdue to get a new stadium. That's going to be a great addition to the league, and that'll probably change a lot of things about this team. Back to Miazga though, just for everybody's Barstool trivia, Matt Miazga is the second former Premier League player to appear in an X-Pro match.
Really?
The other is Eldin Jakupovic, the independent team. He's the goalkeeper for Chattanooga. He used to play for Leicester, but there you go. Next Pro's getting the former Prem lads in it. See how much that grows, or if they're the only two ever. You know?
Man, you should publicize that a little bit more. That's good trivia to have.
Yeah, it's
maybe
it's good
you did
trivia.
And I missed it.
Yeah, well, no, we didn't. But there's other people like whatever. This is an FC Cincinnati show. I'll tell you about that offline.
Well, just kind of to set up that New England matchup a little bit more before we get in with our guest. Carlos Heel is kind of the guy still pulling the strings there. Feels like he's been around there forever. Leo Campana in the attack. They brought in some exciting young players this offseason, like former Houston midfielder Brooklyn Reigns and Griffin Yao, the former DC United homegrown attacker. They did lose 8-year veteran Brandon Vai and free agency. He was a guy that I think I at least thought he would have been an interesting addition for FC Cincinnati. Ended up going off to, where did he go? Portland. I think he's with Portland now. Is that right? No. Yeah, I think that's right. Sorry. You can look me up while I'm going on.
No, he is. Yeah,
okay.
Like, you stumped me too. Like, yeah, all that, like, the silly season is so far out of my head now, and I haven't watched Portland yet. So, yeah.
Well, I was looking all this up when I was researching, so it was in my head. I didn't have it in my notes, but they also lost Thomas Chankale. Is that I know I'm saying that wrong.
Chankale.
We just talked about him like 2 weeks ago when FC Cincinnati went to Minnesota, so he went there via trade. And then Matt Turner back in goal with something to prove for them. The highest preseason prediction I saw for New England was 8th. So it's a team that has struggled in recent years, and I don't think there's a ton of expectations yet on them. They've got a lot to prove. Coming off 2 losses, like we mentioned, their home opener was delayed, so they didn't play at all last weekend. But I think both these teams are going to be looking to get something out of this game. So,
yeah, I think it's another game for FC Cincinnati where what haunted them last year. And I know it's 2026 now. We need to stop talking about last year, but they've lost 2 winnable games that were thin margins. Just getting a point out of those games means the difference at the end of the year. So I'm not dramatic on how they look or anything like that. These things can improve, but this is another one of those games where just can you just meet expectations? You know what I mean? Like, no matter if it's a 3-2 win or whatever, just find a way to win this. That puts a lot of things. It just improves the vibes a lot. So I don't know, but we don't see them ever be streaky. You know what I mean? The bad times for this team don't typically last forever. Yeah. In the noon and all right era, of course. Yeah. Previously, that's a different story. There were only bad times, but yeah. So this is the get right game, but yeah, how they get out of the Tigres game, I think, will also be a big factor. Just in the vibes, are people going to be feeling good? Is it going to be a chore? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup against Tigres. It's the team they lost to in this same round last year. So we were talking with Miles Robinson at Media Availability today, and he talked about how they've got a little bit of a chip on their shoulder because that was the team to knock them out. And I'll be interested to see how they respond. Noonan seemed really positive today. He was very insightful about some of the things that they need to see in the attack with just guys moving off ball. And I just felt like he gave a little bit more than he had been about, what's been missing, even looking back to last year, what they, in the off season were trying to do. And now it just seems like it's getting guys, they've been working on it. I don't want to say guys are like reluctant to change because they do want to be more attacking. But maybe they're just kind of still trying to find those ideas together on the field. And maybe we're a little hard on them right now. It is just, 3 weeks or 3 games into the MLS season. And yeah, back-to-back losses where you shut out is not ideal, but it feels like this Tigres game, if they could get a good result out of it, could really, it takes one good performance, and maybe the fans are still kind of, not as familiar with Tigres as they are some of the other teams that they watch, but that would be a big win, and they really need results at home. So
yeah, and I know that, and as we speak with Gio here in a second on it, like this is obviously the big tournament and everything, but like the expectations are also realistic. Like MLS teams just have such an uphill battle, like in this competition, in terms of like being in the middle of like whichever season, like Liga MX is in, versus being in preseason, like when this tournament starts, just like all that. I'm not even saying win the game. I'm just saying look good in it.
Yeah.
Like if it's a 1-1 tie and you just go, if you live to fight another day and finish that game off, to me that would be a good result for them right now.
It would, but at the same time, like Pat Noonan has said that the big thing that they've struggled with in advancing is getting a good result at home. So like if they go to Mexico tied, that's really tough to get that win on the road. But this is a team that has played pretty well on the road, maybe not in Mexico, but yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, I just feel like they need something out of this week. And so why don't we go on and jump into our guest appearance with Gio Savarese. But actually, first, a word from our sponsor.
Today's episode is sponsored by HOIST. HOIST is IV level hydration created to fuel adventure, increase performance, maximize capabilities, and power the grit that gets things done. HOIST is more than a sports drink, a lot more. It's carefully formulated, aggressive hydration science, and research in action. HOIST is clinically proven to hydrate 110% better than water and keep your body hydrated longer. HOIST is half the sugar and 3 times the electrolytes, with no artificial dyes, preservatives, or artificial sweeteners. No surprise then that HOIST is the trusted and preferred hydration partner of the U.S. military and the U.S. Department of Defense.
Well, thanks to our friends from HOIST. Now let's bring in our guest, Gio Savarese. He is a Spanish language match and studio analyst for MLS on Apple TV currently. You guys probably remember him from his days coaching the Portland Timbers. He was there from 2017 through part of 2023, and just brings a really unique perspective to the studio and match analysis with just his coaching background. And he played in the league as well. He played with the New England Revolution, who we'll be talking about in this segment. So let's go on and bring in Gio, our own little Gio hour. Thanks for joining us on Queen City Press Podcast, Gio. Welcome. How are you doing today?
Good. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Well, we're happy to have you. FC Cincinnati coming into, we're here more to probably preview that Revs game. I know you kind of look at those league games, but they do have a game against Tigres on Thursday in Champions Cup play, coming off a 2-game skid before traveling to New England for Sunday's match against the Revolution. So yeah, we'll get into that Revs match in a little bit, but it feels like this home tie against Tigres is going to be kind of an important one for the vibes of the team, just coming off those 2 losses. And really talking about trying to get the attack going this year. FC Cincinnati being shut out 2 games in a row. Do you think there's some pressure on FC Cincinnati right now going into this Champions Cup series?
Definitely. I think there's pressure. There's always pressure on coaches when you're not getting the results that you expect. As well, when it's a club like Cincinnati and other clubs that make a big investment, and they are a type of club that's trying to do things the right way. And it's not easy also, for Pat to be able to go through this moment because he has had good moments in his career with Cincinnati, which we don't have to forget that part as well. But the moment right now is difficult because things are not working in the way he's looking at. And sometimes it happens as a coach, and he has to find the solutions in order to turn things around. Maybe tonight against Tigres will be a good opportunity to show something a little different and make sure that the mentality changes to prepare for this weekend.
Yeah, and I mean, you obviously have a very unique perspective as somebody who coached in this league for a long time, and he's certainly starting to take some heat from the fans for the losses and not winning any trophies last year. But as you said, we don't forget about the success either. But can you imagine, or going back to your time as a coach, just what do you think he's going through right now, and what does the day-to-day look like when you're just trying to get that win to get over the hump and snap the streak?
The first thing is not about being afraid of getting fired. That's not the first thought. The first thought is those that played and are winners. The first thing is, I'm not winning. I want to win. I have a responsibility. I'm the leading of this team, and I want to make sure that things work out because I have the backing of a good organization. So that is the first thought. Is feeling like that the job that I'm doing at this particular moment is not to the level that I feel that I should be, and it's not of lack of effort. Is the moment in which you have to try to figure out how to find solutions to the problems that you have. And he very much said exactly what he thinks last interview right after the game, when he mentioned a lot of the problems that he feels the team has in order for him to make it. And I love the fact that he said, I take full responsibility. That shows someone that cares about the club, cares about his players, and is willing to put the chest in front of everybody to make sure that they understand that it's something that he has to solve. And I, as a coach, I feel that that's very important for the players because they feel they feel somehow the support, and that goes a long way.
How do you? Could you explain that a little bit? How tough is that as a coach? Just when you feel that need to take that responsibility on, but at the same time, from the fans' perspective, they're asking for some accountability, maybe on the players too. And then you've got, the roster build that you don't always have control of with, cap restrictions and different things that come up. How tough is it to shoulder all that responsibility as a coach?
I have to start saying first that these are the moments that you see the true character of people, and how prepare are you to be able to go to battle to win a championship. Because it's easy when you're winning. Everybody's smiling, everybody's coming, everybody's happy, and things are working out. But in these moments is when you see the true reality of what you have around you and who's there for you to be able to, push forward, and who might not be good enough or not confident enough to be able to be part of, what's coming in the future. And I'm sure that Pat is analyzing everything with his staff, because as I said before, he's shown already that he can manage a team like Cincinnati, because if we look at from 2021 to now, is the club that has the most points in MLS, and that says a lot. But these moments are complicated, so you need to find ways first, keep everybody with the right mentality, believing going forward, because losing a few games can, do a lot of harm to the mentality of the team.
Yeah, I mean, with this team, they do have that great, point collection, as you mentioned. And then this year, and, cut the preview last year of Evander, who you'd obviously know very well, Kevin Dinke. It just hasn't quite been clicking. And I'm curious, when you put the coach's hat on, do you see ways they could be getting more out of that attack?
You have to. You have to, as a coach. You can never feel that you cannot have influence in changing things, because then at that moment, then you cannot be the coach anymore. So I'm sure that Pat is going through in his mind, how can I solve this? I'm sure he's asking his assistant coaches. He's watching videos. He might have sometimes, we as coaches sometimes have outside people that might give us advice in moments like this, which is important as well. And but I think the most important thing is, how can I change the things that I see maybe that I need to change. So attacking wise, we see that in the past 3 games they created opportunities, they had chances. Maybe the chances didn't relate to chances on goal, or going towards the goal, towards the goal. That's something that they need to work. But sometimes it's that connectivity, that fluidity, that maybe at the beginning in this is the few new first season games that he hasn't seen, and are not leading into getting goals. We know that Cincinnati is a club usually that in history have won games, but in games that they score a lot of goals and they get goals again. So I think they're going through a moment in which they're not finding the net. Echenique, for example, had an unbelievable season last season. And sometimes when you do very well, teams look at ways to stop you. And now you have to find solutions there too, because now they know he's fast. He can get into the box. So a lot of times he get 2 players, 3 players around him, and it becomes more difficult. I see sometimes, now with Evander not being available, now hopefully getting fitter and more minutes, it will change. But he had a trio that still is new, that they're trying to figure things out together. Javali, if I pronounce it the right way, the striker, is just arrived, is adapting. So I think there's a lot of things to think about, but I just don't think that it's only about attacking. I think defensively, also they need to work on some areas in order for them to be a little more solid.
Yeah, I think Matt Miazga, if he can come back, would be a big addition to the offense just from that defensive side with his distribution.
Huge.
We can talk a little bit more about that. I wanted to go into, we've mentioned Evander a couple times. Now, you were his first MLS coach. And like you mentioned, he can be a real difference maker, especially when he's healthy. What do you remember about coaching Evander?
Evander is, first of all, a very unique player. He's those type of players that have so much talent. They're unique in the way that there's not that many that have come to MLS with his quality, his talent, and the possibilities that he has to score goals. He's someone that can find different ways to score goals, to connect with players, to find solutions. And I think he's someone that you want to have in your team, because with him, your team will be stronger. He can definitely find moments in the game in which he can make the difference in order to win games. And he also is a hardworking. Sometimes those type of players are players that don't run back, but he's a player that put effort to also help the defense. So that's a very big part of his game as well. Maybe a little bit, I will say that he's a little too hard to himself. I think that the way he sees the game, he's always tough to him, because he's always feeling that he wants to give the highest level possible. And sometimes when he doesn't see himself doing that, he doesn't look happy on the field. And it's not that he's not happy with his players. He's not happy to himself, because he's pushing himself to want it to be, the different maker on the game. So, and that's what I saw as well. free kicks, shots. I mean, one of the most accurate and hottest, shooters in the league. But it's the way he links with players. I think he's his best talent. So I think Cincinnati is very fortunate to have him. Very smart to have brought him in. And I think hopefully he can get back because he can solve a lot of problems to this team.
Gio, you touched on Evander and just like his chill kind of nature on the field, sometimes looking disinterested to fans, at least that's been pointed out. Do you think he's misunderstood?
I think yes. I think yes because I think through those moments, it's not that he's disinterested. He's in a way pushing himself, and he's disappointed to himself in that he's not achieving the maximum capacity to be able to help the team. He gets frustrated and he gets moody. So I think that fans should support him because I think what happens is not that I'm comparing him to this player that I'm going to say because I think Thierry Henry is being a player that has achieved amazing things in talent that that is unique. But I will say that both of them are players, and there are players like that they're very tough to themselves, that they're pushing themselves. And that's what allows them to be able to be this type of players. And he's that way. They're just trying to find a way to be able to be excellent. And when they don't achieve that, then the reality is that they get moody. But I also have to say he has to manage that better. He needs to be, I think he's maturing, and little by little understands that those moments are not good for him and not good for the team. But no matter what, I think there has to be the support of the fans, understanding that that's probably the most important moment for them to support him in order for him to make the changes that he can make on the field.
He plays such a vital role. That number 10 position is so important for any team. It's understandable you'd see a drop off when he's not on the field. So just I am assuming he will be back, but how tough is that for a coach to have to manage trying to keep things going when that number 10 isn't available?
You as a coach, you're there to solve problems. And that's a problem when you don't have Evander on the field. Is the problem that you're losing someone that is very influential and decisive for for the team to win games. But you have to find ways to be able to work with all the players and to still win games and continue to get points and to fight and especially when you play at home is important. I think the system that Pat Noonan and his group with Cincinnati have is a great system for Evander because in somehow he's a true number 10 in the 3-4-1-2, in which he's free to be able to find always his position, his area. And there's different movements that he makes during the finding spaces. So I do think that is a good way for him to be able to find the game that he's looking for. But when he's not on the field, they have to be other players that show up. I think that there has been a little bit of a transition. Some players change, and it takes a little time as well to be able to get the right group to be able to get the right results.
And Gio, we're interested in as well just your perspective, kind of moving more to the media side in recent years. When you kind of evaluate, players, coaches, their performances, having respect for that process, but also, it's kind of your job to be critical when you see fit now too. How do you kind of like balance that, or do you just let it rip?
First of all, I'm always going to see the game as a coach. That's my part because I see things very clear. I love the game in a way that I study constantly. So I'm always going to be a coach, someone that sees the game maybe a little different than others. But what I try to do from this job right now is to educate, to communicate, to let maybe people see something that they haven't seen or understood. That way they can understand more and they can have a deeper understanding of the game. in what they're watching. Not just shots on goal or a way to defend because I'm tough, but maybe spaces in which I'm defending against two guys and things are becoming a little more difficult. So some tactical education sometimes I think is good for the fan to keep on growing, and that's how I've been managing now this new opportunity. I've been an analyst, something that I think is a great thing from Apple to be able to show every game of Major League Soccer and to educate, to continue to educate and give this experience to fans. Whatever they're looking for, if they're fans for a particular team, if they just want to see MLS, or if they just want to see this how MLS has grown since '96 when I was a starter in this league.
Well, speaking of the growth, there is still, like you said, there's some educating that still needs to be done. I've noticed this week just a lot of people questioning attendance at these CONCACAF Champions Cup games and some comments from fans saying, well, it's, I think I saw one particular comment that said it was a pointless tournament. I just feel like there's some education that needs to be done on that side. What would you say to the fans to kind of help them understand why this tournament is a big deal?
I have to say first, I have to start with the positive, with the great growth of understanding and support that soccer, football has had now in the United States. So it's exciting how much and how many people are supporting the game in the United States. I just think that, and being a coach, I think that there is an understanding that the most important thing is only, or the priority is MLS Cup. It might be the right thing for some ways, but I think there's not a true understanding of what this tournament is, the importance of champion, the Champions Cup in this region in CONCACAF. We see what it is, the Champions League in Europe, that is huge. And I think it hasn't yet grasped the understanding of people in how important it is for clubs to qualify and to participate and to win. These tournaments that they give you the exposure against teams, of Mexico, of other, countries in Central America, in CONCACAF region, give you the opportunity to be able to be in the World Cup of Clubs, which is a huge part of it. And you test yourself as a club with those games because they are high-level games. And so I think, it's not only the CONCACAF Champions Cup, it's also US Open Cup, it's also the Leagues Cup. I think there needs still to be an understanding, why these tournaments are so important for the teams and the importance of each level of this competition. One way to explain it is you need to win something to qualify to that tournament. That says a lot. That says that you need to be a winner, and the best of MLS are going to be there, competing. So I think there's still some education to, in that part of this competition.
Yeah, and part of that, at least for FC Cincinnati, will be managing rotation and doing that man's management to be successful in all these competitions. And just looking ahead to Sunday quickly, we are expecting some rotation from Cincinnati, knowing that Tigres game tonight for listeners is going to be tough. What do you make of New England? They had their home opener, then they had to change the grass. They had to cancel their game last weekend. So they're sitting on, a winless start. FC Cincinnati obviously needs a win pretty badly, but New England has had 2 weeks of rest. Between rest and just like staying in like super high level competitions, do you see a clear advantage or disadvantage for this matchup?
I think that when I look at this match, I have to see what team is the strongest team going into this match that has the pressure to win. And although New England is playing at home and they have to win at home because they haven't won yet, Cincinnati is the club that everybody expecting to win things this year. So they have to go everywhere they go, depending, who they're playing against. But in this particular time against New England, Cincinnati should be the contender, the one that everybody gives more credit to win. So that's the first thing. So how New England is going to use that, I think that's the important part. Are they going to be preparing a different way than the first two games that they played? I think the first game, it was very complicated against Nashville. They it, you whatever you saw, you understood exactly what they're trying to do, but they never executed to the level that needed in the game, in defense, in attack, in possession, in everything that they were trying to do. You saw the intention, but you didn't see the execution. And also they play against a very good Nashville. Then they come here to Red Bull, and they face a very difficult Red Bull team, in which now they understood New England that by being a little bit in a lower block will make it more difficult. They didn't stretch themselves out, and they looked much better the first half, being a little bit more conservative. Now, are they going to go and press high in this Cincinnati team, or are they going to look into similarities of what they found out in Red Bull here in New York, that maybe being a little bit more compact could give them the possibility to be a better team and be more of a transition team? I'm sure that Marco is the new coach is learning how he needs to manage the team going into this game. I think some changes will be made from New England's standpoint, but also I think at the end it's Cincinnati, the one that has to solve all the problems. Whatever they're going to go there in the way they're going to play. I don't think since it's a team that changes much. They usually play the way they play, so I don't see many changes in them for this game. But it's how they're going to act to or react to maybe the things in the game that they're going to have to manage. Are they going to find the right adjustments, or is New England going to be able to, with the way they're going to make things in this game, the changes that they're going to provide for this game, are they going to find a way to be able to win this game?
You mentioned Marco. I don't know if Marco Mitrovic, if I'm saying that right, was hired in November. Took over a team that hasn't been to the playoffs 3 of the last 4 years. I don't know how much you really studied New England over the last few years, but is there anything that you think has just kind of been missing there that maybe he's going to be trying to bring to this team?
Since Bruce Arena left, which that was, I would say, the last period of time that they were successful. That was a very difficult team to play against. I had the pleasure to play them a few times, and they were tough teams to play against. Then there have been a few changes. Some coaches have come in, and it's been very difficult. I'm not sure if it's a coaching problem or if it's an organization problem. I don't know. I'm just saying that it's not always the fault of the coach only. When things are in a situation in which a club hasn't won ever in this competition, and I'm talking about a club that I play for, that I love playing for, that I love living in the city of Boston, and that I still have a lot in me as an ex-player. I would love to see that team win MLS Cup, but there has to be something, that hasn't allowed that team to be able to progress in the right direction. And I do think that the selection that they made with the Marco, I think they know that they need to give him time. So I do think that it will not be a team that, if they lose a few games now, will make a decision to let the coach go. I think they will be patient, and they will continue to find ways to make this team be a better team and try to make success. So with that peace of mind now going into this game against Cincinnati, which Cincinnati is more in a different situation, more into more pressure and, in necessity of win. How this game is going to end up, it's going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be a good matchup.
Yeah, and one of the pieces that Marco inherits is, Carlos Heel. And it's interesting because I think he's super underrated. I think that there's, this team's results have kind of not really diminished, but it takes him out of the MVP conversation. But when you watch him, he's one of the most talented 10s in this league, in this era of the league. And at 33, it doesn't look like he's slowing down. I'm just interested what you make of him, and does it feel like he's kind of like a secret weapon that gets overlooked?
I don't know if he's underestimated. At least I would say no from us coaches. I can tell you that uh, for me particularly, I think he's one of the best players that have come to Major League Soccer. I think he's very talented. He's exceptional. He finds solutions. He's one that sometimes uh, takes the team on his shoulders and allows the team to have success. I've seen him a little bit more frustrated these past few games than I have seen him in the past. Maybe he feels that he doesn't have enough around him to be able to provide what he needs. I don't know. I'm just guessing, but I do see a player that hasn't aged yet, that is still has a lot of great talent to be able to provide for this team. And for me, is as I said before, is always one that as a coach, when you go play against New England, you know that he can make the best difference on the field to make the game difficult for you.
Well, I do want to ask before we let you go, because you've been a coach for a long time. You're doing the media thing now. We are seeing the first coaching change. I don't know if you saw Orlando City parted ways with Oscar Pereja. We see these jobs pop up throughout the year sometimes. I'm just curious, do you see yourself getting back into that coaching side still?
From my part, definitely, there's their interest to want to come back and coach. It is a passion for me, and definitely I feel still with plenty of energy to continue to coach. You definitely have to have the proper energy still, in you in order to coach, because it's a very important job. It's a job that you need to do and manage a lot of things in order to make a program successful. But for me, it's also important that there is a project that is ambitious to want to move forward and wants to compete to win things. So definitely, in my mind, I still have the desire to go back and continue to coach.
Well, thank you so much. I hope we didn't put you on the spot there. When you're in it for a long time, just thought it'd be a pertinent question to ask. So I appreciate you and your candor, and just you've been great today. So thank you so much for your time. Any other parting words before we let you go?
No, it is a pleasure to speak with both. In Cincy, what I can say is that you have a beautiful project. You have a great organization, and you have a good team with a good coach. So hopefully things get put together as they have in past years, and that you can continue to enjoy it, watching a strong team compete in Major League Soccer.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll hope to talk to you again sometime down the road, maybe.
Perfect. Take care. All the best.
Thanks.
All right, great stuff from former coach Savarese. And it's obviously an interesting time to talk to him, just, with the other news around the league that, we did. I think he handled that last one pretty well, with the Oscar Pereja news breaking. But yeah, finding that balance is always interesting. Anytime you listen to a former coach that, now it's his job to be, super critical and do all that versus maybe seriously wanting some of these jobs and not wanting to burn bridges. I thought that was really, really cool perspective that you don't really get to hear every day.
Yeah. And I mean, since he was Evander's first coach, I thought it was really interesting to hear his take on, because I feel like he can give, we always hear the analysts and guests that we have on will describe Evander, and kind of they notice some of the things the fans notice about his body language. But I feel like Gio was able to really tell us this is how he is. And I thought that was really interesting as well. And just, yeah, his experience as a coach just makes it so unique. Most of the analysts that we talk to are former players or just, broadcasters. So I thought that was really interesting just to hear how he handles that balance of putting the coaching hat on and off and studio analyst hat on, and yeah.
Yeah, and I've had the pleasure of I went up to that studio once. It's like located within the WWE studios, which like if you're a nerd like me, like it's so sick. But they have a ton of fun. Like he's got one of the coolest jobs on the planet. Like it gets very like chummy and like fun and like just like the reactions, like all the things like you see like off camera. It's like awesome. And like he's just like such a force like on that team too. It's like, I don't know. I think he's a really, really interesting guy. So I don't know why I added that, but fun fact.
Well, yeah, I thought he was good though, talking about, you know, the significance of Champions Cup, and there's a lot to talk about this week. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Is any other to kind of put a bow on Tigres and this match coming up against New England? Any other thoughts that we didn't get into?
I'm sure there are, because I'm overworked and underslept as always, but I can't think of any for now. But we do have a new segment, your Patreon Press Pass, and I'm interested to hear more about this.
Yeah, so Patreon member Steven Anderson had a couple questions for Pavel Buka, and so I was able to ask Pavel. I actually asked him last week. We had a kind of a mixed zone, our first like mixed zone thing we've done at training. Normally it's like scheduling out, and it always feels weird scheduling some of those. But so I was able to, like, those are the best times for me to be able to do these questions. So hopefully I get more of those opportunities in the future. But if you have questions and you're a Patreon member, send them to me. If you are not subscribed yet to Patreon, go over to patreon.com/Queen City Press and consider a subscription there to get access to the Insider Show and all my other content. And then, yeah, you can, hopefully you guys are interested in these questions, so you can kind of get to know the players and staff members, whoever you want me to ask. So, you know, different, it can be any kind of topic as long as it's appropriate. So here is my question for Pavel via Steven Anderson's question via me. So here we go. Okay, so this is a question from Steven Anderson. Had you ever heard of Cincinnati, Ohio before coming? And what do you and your families enjoy doing most in this area?
Yeah, so back in Czech Republic, when I first heard about interest from this club, FCC, and I heard Cincinnati for the first time, I didn't know about the city at all. Only thing then I realized was that there is a famous tennis tournament, Cincinnati Open. That was only thing that was like connecting in my mind to the city. So yeah, that was it. And after some time I did my research and found out some great things about the city.
So you like still like hiking? Don't you like hiking with your dog? And
yes, we've been doing that a lot, especially at that first year when we were here, because at the time we still were just us without our baby boy. So we had a lot of free time at the afternoon. So yeah, that's one activity that we really like to do in our free time. So yeah, because we have a dog, so we like to spend our free time, especially in the nature, somewhere when it's when you can hear birds and it's really calm and you can just enjoy the view of green trees and that. So yeah, we were exploring all of the places around the city, few different hikes in different parks, and yeah, so that was for sure one activity we've been doing a lot. And right now I guess we have another like challenge, and that's the searching for some places for little kids, like playgrounds and inside playrooms, indoor playrooms for small kids, toddlers, and babies, and so that's our how we spend free time these days.
And then, aside from Cincinnati, what's your favorite city in the United States that you've either been to with the team or done? I don't know if you've traveled much on your own within
No, I've
country.
never been before in the U.S., so I didn't have a favorite city here. So only as a foreigner from different country, you just heard about cities like New York or Los Angeles, and that's it. So I've been dreaming about someday maybe coming to New York and see that huge city. And and right now I would say there are some good cities here, especially in our conference when we are traveling with the team. So probably like that I would mention Nashville. That's one city I really like. I think it's quite similar to Cincinnati, maybe a little bit bigger with maybe a bigger opportunities for people how to have fun, or cultural activities. What can people do? So yeah.
So that was Pavel Buka answering Steven Anderson's question. So again, subscribe at patreon.com/Queen City Press and send me any questions you have and we'll try to get to them. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I also wanted to bring in a little bit of my clip with, I did an interview with Vice President of Sports Performance and Health, Garrison Draper. That's over on the Insider podcast that you can access through that Patreon account. He talked with me for 30 minutes. I just wanted to kind of highlight, some of the support staff that the fans don't hear a lot about. And Garrison has his hand in a lot, he does a lot with this club. So I just thought it'd be really interesting to hear about his job, really, and what he does. And so here is a clip from that interview. And then, of course, you can go and hear the full thing on the Insider Show. You had some unique experiences with Miami, helping kind of plan out that trip to, I guess, it was Saudi Arabia, Hong Kong, and Tokyo.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, how challenging was that, and had you done anything like that before? And then, I'll go on.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great place to start. It was something I had never done before, but when I took the job in Miami, it was one of my aspirations. I wanted to work with elite athletes, which I got to check that box on multiple accounts. And I wanted to have new experiences that would prepare me for maybe MLS 3.0, which is going to be international and it's going to be congested fixtures. And I think Inter Miami was the perfect opportunity for that for me. And so it was a really unique opportunity to do the world tour. Number one, it came up really last minute. I don't know if many people remember, but we were supposed to go to China in November, but there was a political incident that happened, and so they had to cancel the trip. I was getting a new passport and got the call that, we aren't going anymore, about 5 days before we were supposed to fly to China. So that was supposed to be our practice run. But then planning the world tour, we did Miami to Dallas for a friendly and back to Miami. We did Miami to El Salvador, played a game there, went back to Miami. Then we flew from Miami to Saudi Arabia. We were there I think we were in Riyadh for 6 or 7 days. Then we flew to Hong Kong for 3 days and then flew to Tokyo and then back to Miami. And it was an absolute whirlwind of a trip. Some of my big learnings there were a lot focused around food and comfort and routine. I think Garrison before this trip didn't put enough precedence on the importance of routine for athletes, the importance of food as a cultural narrative as well as a fueling source for athleticism. And so that was my first really eye-opening experience of getting to sort of navigate, okay, how do we make this feel like home? How do we still help them prepare for their performance, but while they're missing their families? And then one of the other really fun ones was navigating the different medical environments within each country. And one of my all-time favorite stories is we had a player get injured in one of the games, and it was a fairly high-profile player, and we had to navigate Riyadh and get the athlete from our hotel to the hospital and back, while also doing imaging and protecting his HIPAA rights without anything getting out. And so it was a really interesting sort of like, what are the logistics that go into managing athletes, but then also how do we medically protect this athlete and ensure he's getting the best care possible, whether we're in Miami in our home facility or we're in Saudi Arabia. So there were a lot of sort of like, what's the next step type of thinking that ended up coming out of that.
Oh. So I'm sure every day is different, but how can you kind of walk me through a typical day, like
yeah,
broadly?
So Pat Noonan is the early bird in our building, so he's always one of the first ones, but I believe I'm shortly after. I don't know the exact time he gets in, but I think I'm fairly close to him, and that's one of our opportunities to connect and sort of share ideas, talk about what's happening today, but then also big picture, what do we need to think about in the schedule. And then players sort of come in, my staff is in there sort of greeting them, making sure they're ready, and we're preparing for sort of our training planning meeting. And that's where we talk about what's happening on the field today, what's happening in the gym, what's our schedule, what are some of the logistics we need to think about, players coming up from the second team or the academy, that's where that all happens. Then we sort of get ready for all the player-facing stuff. So it's it could be a video meeting, it could be activation, and I spend a lot of time not so much thinking about what's going to happen in that video meeting, but where should it be placed to impact the athletes from a mental standpoint, from a physiologic standpoint, and sort of manage a schedule there. And then I'm really bouncing around and connecting with our different departments sort of from then on out. Sometimes, and I probably need to do a better job of this, and I'm going to use this as my accountability buddy here. Sometimes I don't end up going out to training and seeing the activities on the field because there's more pressing items. Like right now we're planning for Tigres. What do the trip logistics look like for that? What do we need to be thinking about? What's our itinerary going from we play in New England, and then we have our game, and when are we flying, where are we going? So those are a lot of opportunities for me to connect with some of the other staffs. And then we have our lift going on that my staff is sort of heavily involved in. One of my goals as a leader is to not micromanage the like, here's what this exercise is going to be, and here's what this sets and reps are going to be. Like, I think those guys are the experts. Those guys and girls are the experts in those fields. My job is to make sure it all communicates and connects and moves in the same direction. And then we do sort of a like debrief at the end of the day where we talk through every athlete in the roster. And sometimes that trickles down to the second team guys that are pretty important in our first team training environment, or they're going to play in first team games, someone like an Andre Chirilla or Ayoub Lajar, where we sort of had, even though they may not be training with us full time, we had to sort of keep our eyes on them and make sure they were ready to step in. And that was sort of a huge initiative that Kyle McCarthy and myself started last year, was building a data infrastructure that housed everything in our club platform. And so we had sort of 3 or 4 different platforms that we were using, and now everything's inside of one. So I can go in and see what's going on at the second team with their training sessions, with their performance data, with their medical stuff, and so can Kyle. And then we can also share scouting notes. So if I go to an FCC2 game and I'm watching an athlete, I can put in a note thinking about, okay, how's this athlete moving? What are things that me as the Vice President of Sports Performance and Health, what would I be thinking about that maybe the soccer scouts aren't thinking about as much? So that's been a big piece there, but having that system has really helped the efficiencies of the day go through. And then it's a lot of staff meetings after that, connecting with our medical team about long-term rehabs, connecting with our team physician, Dr. Bosom, and make sure that he's sort of covered and he doesn't need anything. And then I'm very lucky that I'm on a couple of different committees for the league and then for FIFPro. And so finding time for those meetings somewhere in the day is also important.
So that was part of my conversation with Garrison Draper. He also talked about just his relationship with some of the players, like physio and personal trainers that they deal with. I thought that was really interesting. That part's not in that clip that I shared, but if you want to hear that, go on over to the Insider Show. And I'll be doing a lot more of those interviews this season, so I can kind of introduce you guys to more of the folks behind the scenes with FC Cincinnati. So, Tyler, you got anything that you're working on interesting?
What am I not working on? It's going to be a busy weekend ahead, just doing desk for MLSsoccer.com and MLSnextpro.com. Over the weekend, I got to do a Messi story, which was kind of fun. That's my first time doing that. But yeah, we were close. Like, as a writer, maybe you can appreciate my pain on this one. He's one goal away from 900, like all time for senior appearances for club and country. You just know how easily he can score a brace. So the story ended up being a lot smaller because it was just like he's chasing 900 versus like if he became Mr. 900 that day, that would have ended up being my story.
Your byline on that one too.
I would have loved to have gotten that one. Yeah. But that'll wait for another day. He could score it in CONCACAF, and whoever's doing it, obviously, like, I love that team. Like, they'll do a hell of a job, but it could have been me. But yeah, just doing that and whatever. I don't know what's coming up next because we just don't know what'll happen or what gets assigned to me, but I'll be working my buns off this weekend. That's for sure. What about you?
Just the usual. Tomorrow with Tigres coming to town, it's gonna be a long day because that's an 8:00 game. I guess we should have mentioned that somewhere in here. 8:00 at TQL Stadium, and then Sunday is 2:30 up in New England. So I will be not going to New England, but I will be watching that one from my couch, and I will be on site at TQL Stadium on Thursday. I'm expecting to probably have some Bengals duty that day too, with the first day that we'll probably be able to interview some of the, right now the Bengals have signed 2 free agents, unless I've missed something while we're recording. So I'm probably going to be downtown doing Bengals interviews and then going over to TQL Stadium. So I don't have any like big projects that I'm working on yet, but I do need to start working on some bigger features. So I would, if there's any player features or anything that you fans would like me to dive into, feel free to reach out because I'm always looking for story ideas or suggestions. So I think that's about it, other than my normal, game coverage and all the stuff. But so I guess we can wrap it up here. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you are not subscribed on YouTube, obviously that one's free. We just need you to click that subscribe and like button to help our content kind of get out there for people to see, and the more eyes on it, the better, so we can keep growing. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.